one mammoth meatball. And by mammoth, we don't just mean big.
Cities across America force law-abiding citizens into curfew as rioters and looters burn and smash. Protesters watch their cause undermined by violent hangers-on.
But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now going, I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors.
Wow.
Keep the white name out your fucking mouth!
Thank you for
Good morning.
Good morning.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
Written. Glenn Beck will have his own chapter as possibly the greatest synthesizer of big ideas ever to appear on camera.
There are dozens of videos and photos of Obama having flies land on him indoors at all times of year, and he'll be next to 100 people and no one has flies on.
Does anyone have a question for Santa Claus?
Santa, do you have to wear a mask?
When I'm in my workshop with all my elves, we all are masked up and social distancing.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
What's up, giddy up? Welcome to the Failure to Stop Last Call. It's Last Call Wednesday, Hump Day Wednesday, coming live to YouTube on the Wednesday. It goes out to everybody else on audio. 99% of you will be listening to this on audio on Thursday. So happy Thursday. Thursday to the rest of the YouTube viewers that we've got up in the chats. Happy Hump Day, Tactical to Ben Allen, Elijah, Falconator, Bone Cold Fleas Austin, Hydro Man Blue. I'm not going to scroll up any further. There's a lot of you guys in there, and I appreciate every single one of you. Josh, how are you today?
It's another great day in paradise. How's things going back there? Like, you guys should be having a baby any day now, right?
It could be any minute, Josh.
Like
any second, there could be a child in my.
Because didn't you say this morning that like she was crowning or something crazy like that?
She's not crowning. It looked like her baby, her belly has dropped a little bit, and that's usually a sign. So we went to the midnight. Now we do like a home birth type shit. And because it's illegal in the state of North Carolina, we do home births without any midwives, without anybody. It's just us having a baby in our house. So don't come knocking on our door trying to serve any felonies on anybody, since they made it a felony now in the state of North Carolina for midwives to come and help you deliver a baby. Felony impersonating a medical professional. Is that some BS, dude? This is America, dude. You can abort a baby whenever you want. You can abort a baby now at like fucking 13 months old. But you can't deliver a baby on your own in your own house. What happened to my body, my choice?
So today, or it could be Friday.
Could be Friday.
What about Saturday?
Yep, could be Saturday. Could have a baby
Sunday?
on Saturday. Sunday would be a good choice. Yep, could have a baby on Sunday.
Next week, maybe?
Any minute. Yep, could be next week.
What about the week after that?
Yep, there's a possibility of that too. Yep. Anytime, Drew. Anytime, Josh.
Week after time?
Anytime. Anytime, Josh. That's what anytime means. Could be any day now. Listen, we got a show chocked full of for you today. My brain is all over the place. I was on the news last night. I was on One American News Network last night. Unbeknownst to me, I was on a 20-minute segment deep diving all things first responders and law enforcement in today's society and culture. That was really exciting. So if you're part of the One News Network, they got like about 1.3 million subscribers, something like that. And that was the first time I had tuned into their stuff. Really cool things and very far right wing. But I'll go on anything. I'd go on a far left wing if I got invited. So I'll do it anything. A matter of fact, because I'm so relevant right now, and we've got some really great news coming to the network, Josh, and we'll disclose that here in just a second. We're kind of becoming a big deal. We're on the podcast charts right now. Everything's going kind of in our direction. So I don't need to come out pansexual. But if everything was falling apart right now, I would just come out pansexual because that seems to be what works. At least it's working for Wayne Brady. Wayne Brady hasn't been relevant in a couple of years now, at least 3 years. Listen, I love the show that he was on Whose Line Is It Anyway. I think that show is hilarious. Other than that, Wayne Brady hasn't really done shit. But he's come out pansexual to make himself get back in the news, and we'll talk about that later today. Also, we have a potential Uvalde. We had the potential for a Uvalde 2.0. This was going to be from the Uvalde killer's cousin, was going to try to reenact Uvalde, maybe on behalf of his cousin. We'll dive into that. World War III is inching very close to the United States. If we consider Alaska the United States. Is Alaska the United States, or is that part of Russia?
I'd say Alaska is one of those like wild last frontiers. The case that we did last night was from Alaska, and that it's one of those. It reminds me of Hawaii, where like Hawaii is a part of the United States, and yes, Alaska is part of the United States, but it's kind of like you're in your own world. You don't get regular stuff up there. You're excluded from the cool shipping deals when Amazon has their Amazon Day. Like you are up there. Like you're going to go to work and you're going to pass a bear and an elk. Like those are things that regular people don't see. So like Alaska is crazy.
Yeah, Alaska, Florida, Texas, Hawaii, California.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like now our states are becoming more like their own individual countries, to be honest with you.
Kind of.
Like New York. Look at New York, dude. There's no way I could survive in New York. I can survive in Florida because I did for 19 years. But there's a lot of people that can't survive Florida. California, no way I could survive in California. I could definitely survive in Alaska. But I feel like our states are becoming more like countries. Also, we got to dive in today that RFK goes unprotected. And we had a failure to stop Drew Stradamus prediction about something that would happen in Florida, and it absolutely did. So if anybody had any doubts that we're the real deal, that we're a real deal media company, you tell me. We'll dive into that first. Drew Breezy, the easy Drew Breezy, he predicted something that was happening out of Florida. Josh, fill me in on this. Fill the folks in on what Drew predicted here.
So last Friday, you guys had the Anti-Hero podcast guy on, and towards the end of the podcast, because Drew's in Florida, he's in Florida, they have a lot of Florida connections. You lived in Florida. It was they talked about Florida towards the end of it. It was one of those great things that they have local knowledge that is kind of national news, because they went over a case that happened some years ago where the Attorney General said, I'm not going to prosecute capital punishment cases. So the governor at the time said, got it, bud. You're not going to get any of those cases. I'm not going to send any of those to you. They're going to go someplace else. So in a Drew Stradamus, they predicted that the current Attorney General has said the same thing about not prosecuting cases and not prosecuting minimum mandatory sentences. And so Drew predicted this last Friday, that the Attorney General this morning, or the state's Attorney General this morning, was removed from their position.
Just to get back real quick to what we were talking about, this is the current state attorney, Maurice Worrell. She's the current state attorney. It's not Aramis Ayala. Aramis Ayala was the state attorney, and get this, she said that she would not see capital punishment in any case. This was back when Governor Rick Scott ran Florida. He's now a senator, but. And he said, okay, fine. And he took all of her capital cases away from her. And she's like, you can't do that. And he's like,
that was,
I can. And I did.
Wasn't that when, in Orlando, Markeith Lloyd executed an Orlando sergeant, and, and then they caught him, and she said, well, I'm not going to, and so the governor, so it was Rick Scott at the time.
Yep. Markeith Lloyd. Yeah, Markeith Lloyd was a murder suspect. He had murdered his girlfriend. And Deborah, I can't remember. I'm so ashamed of myself that I can't remember her name. But Deborah, the sergeant, went to apprehend him, and he shot and killed her. He executed her. So this Aramis Ayala said, I'm not prosecuting the death penalty on that guy after he was caught. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I think he lost an eye in the arrest, and there were some things that happened, but her handcuffs went on him, by the way. But that was why it stood out. But this is the current Monique Worrell. And then, so while we're talking.
So, and he goes on to say that he predicts that she's gonna have the same fate as Maisala did. And it's true, because today here, let's bring up the tweet. from Ron DeSantis. I think it's great that we get all of our news from these politicians via tweets. Here is the tweet from, let's see, DeSantis. Go ahead and read that for us there, Josh.
So this morning, Ron DeSantis suspended state attorney Monique Worrell for, quote, dereliction of duty via crime via the executive order on Wednesday. The governor is tapping Florida Judge Andrew Bain to replace Worrell as the state's attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit. So this morning, he put out a tweet this morning that basically summarized that, and then he sent out a longer statement that the executive order, and it's about 16 pages. It's total. There's 40 of them with all the attachments, but it's pretty, like, they went really deep, and they're saying things like, it's going to be hard to read because I had to snip this from the stuff. Out of 130 cases involving possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, referred to the 9th Circuit from 2021 to 2022 by the Sheriff's Department, only 5 resulted in minimum mandatory sentences. 5.
Jeez, 5, dude.
These are
5 convictions.
This is someone who shouldn't have a firearm by any circumstances, for any means at all. They've already been convicted of something else, a felony that precludes them from owning a firearm. And she said, nah, fam, you're good, to 125 of them. She went on further, 32 drug trafficking cases from 2021, only 3 have resulted in minimum mandatory sentences. And of 64 drug trafficking cases referred in 2022, big old goose eggs, none of them have resulted in minimum mandatory sentences. So they're trafficking narcotics through this state. They're getting these criminals in front of this judge, and the judge is going, that's okay. Despite that there are state laws that are saying that the guidelines for sentencing, these are what you're doing. These are the minimum mandatory. So at a minimum, you will mandatory get this sentence plus whatever. So they can add whatever onto it, and they have, each one of those will have a cap on it. But they have sentencing guidelines. If you're a felon, if you're not a felon, if you're a first offender, if you're not a first offender, if you're a violent offender, if you're not a violent, all these things are enhancements that go on, and they figure out what you're going to get charged with. And she's not giving these minimum mandatory sentences to anybody. They're just letting criminals run free.
Yeah, this is, thank you, Crystal Balls, Drew Breezy himself. That's his stripper name, as he says, Crystal Balls. Thank you for your prediction, man. And maybe this will help. Somebody else in the chat said that DeSantis might not be doing very well in the presidential race, but he is killing it in Florida. Absolutely, he's killing it in Florida. Speaking of killing it in presidential races, RFK Jr. goes unprotected, and we have, because we pay Josh on the Fair Stop channel to not only be a producer, but we pay him to be a fact checker as well. And so we send a lot of our fact checking details over to Josh from Deadleg Media, and he just does such an amazing job for us. But he was able to fact check the fact checkers on this one, because I don't think there's anybody more retarded than Instagram's or Twitter's or not Twitter, but Instagram or Facebook or Google's fact checkers, because they're absolutely ridiculous. Now, this was go ahead and read this one for us, Josh. This is from RFK Jr. here. This is
so this is from CNN. Fact check: RFK Jr.'s misleading viral claim about Secret Service protection. So this is the title of this article that they're going to use and label on the fact check and put on all your stuff on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Robert Kennedy Jr., who is running for the Democratic presidential nomination against Joe Biden, basically suggested on Friday that Biden administration is singling him out for rare treatment by denying him Secret Service protection. Kennedy tweeted that the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has decided that the Secret Service protection for him is not warranted at this time, end quote. Kennedy
this is crazy. This is crazy because the Secret Service will guard anything. They'll guard a governor's poodle.
Yep.
If it's being transported. I think every officer at some point in their career has worked with the Secret Service in some capacity or another. I know you probably being a federal police officer yourself and being in Hawaii and Ohio, I'm sure you've worked a couple of presidential details, have you not?
Yeah, you can't see this at home, and I didn't keep all of them, but a lot of these you have credentials, and a lot of the credentials are either the press credentials, they're credentials or depending on what it is, or do you have a lapel pin that says what level of security you're allowed to go through the onion to see how far you can get close to the protectee. I've worked a lot of these. I've worked quite a few of these. And during the 2016 election, I worked quite a few of them when I was at Ohio State. So the Secret Service gets assigned to people as soon as they're a quote major candidate. And this is what's hilariously funny about the fact check. So the quote, Kennedy said the denial came after nearly 3 months of non-response from the campaign's request for Secret Service protection, despite the campaign having submitting a 67-page report that quotes from the world's leading protection firm detailing unique and well-established security and safety risks aside from the commonplace death threats. So that's what they're claiming. Okay. So CNN has no reason to dispute any of that. The Department of Homeland Security declined to comment on Kennedy's tweet, which received more than 12 million views as of Friday afternoon. But Kennedy began the tweet with as follows. Since the assassination of my father in 1968, candidates for president were provided Secret Service protection, but not me. So that's where the fact check should just stop. This is highly misleading, is what CNN is interject. And then they're going to go ahead and talk about things from 1968, and they're going to talk about things from Kennedy's presidency, talk about things in the 80s. But then they're going to get down to a point when the criteria for being used for a formal candidate or de facto nominee for a major party, and they're going to insert in parentheses Kennedy as a distant long shot to beat Biden for the Democratic nomination,
which is absolutely crazy. Because if I'm a Democrat, I'm voting for RFK all day long. I mean, he's, even if I don't agree with his policies, most of his policies or a lot of his policies I don't agree with, I still want a president that is somewhat coherent and not really just kind of like a walking corpse.
Well, I'd like to have him at least.
I bet you Joe Biden smells like death. Like, I bet you if you get close enough to him, you can smell the death emanating off of his.
If you've ever been to a nursing home, you know exactly what that smells
just like that. Speaking of which, Dianne Feinstein just took a fall in her house. And listen, I'm not rooting for anybody to die, but I'm rooting for these old fucks to get out of this office. Like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? This is embarrassing. Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, you got Joe Biden. These people smell literally of death. It's disgusting. Why are they still I'm not trying to age discriminate, but controversy moment, right? Let's give a little warning here. Listen, you want to be fat, that's all right? It's okay to be overweight, but don't act fat, right? I've said it 1,000 times. Don't act it, right? Don't have the sauce all over your face. Don't have the sauce all over your belly. If you're in a professional setting, try to act. You know what I mean? Like, I don't dress like a dirtbag like I am to go other places. I try to be a little bit more professional. If you're old, then don't act old. Don't act old. Don't sit there and shit your pants in front of everybody in the United States on national TV. Don't do that. Don't fall off of your fucking bicycle when you don't have your training wheels on. If you're going to be old and you're going to be a politician, at least try to act like you're young. All right, ran over.
I'd say term limits, or we put an age limit, because we can put an age limit on pilots. Pilots at 65, you're done. You can't be a commercial pilot anymore. So we can do that with pilots, but I'll go ahead and get behind some of that, where you're putting the responsibility of a couple hundred people in the hands of one or two individuals, but they're working the sticks. You might want someone competent up there. Okay. On that same thought, we'll go ahead and make the assertion that the office of President of the United States is as of, if not more important than a commercial airline pilot, with the amount of people that they're responsible for. So let's say we get something competent up there. But Kennedy, they're saying that he is not a major. They're going to put in here that he is not a major nominee. That they're going to insert that he is a distant long shot.
He went on Joe Rogan. That makes him. Just kidding.
But in the same sentence, the candidate for polling at 15% or higher for 30 consecutive days is the Real Clear Politics average or similar system is what's being used. So let's go ahead and insert their next parentheses. Kennedy was above 15% in the Real Clear Politics average in May and in much of June, but he's been below 15% every day since June 22nd and was at 13.7% on Friday.
Which is
About
crazy
50
because he
points
is getting
behind Biden.
zero. He is getting zero mainstream help. He's not getting any help from the mainstream media. They're not giving him debates. They're not putting him on CNN. They're not putting him on other major news networks and letting him have his time and his go at it. So everything that RFK is doing is grassroots, and I think that's pretty cool. I like to root for the underdog. Like, I'm not going to say that like I agree with all of RFK's policies and everything, but I do like to root for the underdog. And I listen. The guy has said some things in the past that I definitely don't agree with. But Trump said a lot of things that I don't agree with. Well, nobody's perfect, right? Like I learned that on this podcast. About once a week, I get some kind of heinous message from one of our listeners on something that I might have got wrong, that I would think is debatable or at least arguable. But instead I just get a hate message that like, I'm never listening to you again. You disgust me. I can't believe you would take this thing. It's like, did you really think that when I do 6 shows a week and I talk about all these different things, like we talk about everything on the Feather Stop podcast channel. We do political news. We do crime news. We do true crime. We do case breakdowns. We're starting to do conspiracy theories now. That's a new show we got coming out. There's so many different topics. Do you really think that you're going to agree with me on everything? Do you not think that I'm going to get a couple of things wrong, or that maybe my opinion doesn't align with yours in some way? I think it's crazy that we hold people accountable for every single where they said, and that they can't change, right? Like, let's say more facts or more evidence comes out, or we learn things. Like I have certain stances on things now that I definitely did. If you would have talked to 21-year-old me, I was the biggest Bush fan of all time. And I was happy to fight in the Afghan wars for President Bush. Talk to 36-year-old me a few years ago, and I would have told you that Bush is probably one of the most corrupt presidents that we've ever had. And talk to me now about Bush, and you can't, because I get so fucking mad and angry, because I feel, now listen, if more evidence comes out when I'm 45 and I change that, that's how life works. But that, we're allowed to have debates. We're allowed to have talk. We're allowed to argue about things. We feel different ways about all sorts of things, vaccines and the way you raise your kids, or all sorts of things. So, again, I'm not point being that I don't agree with everything that RFK says or has said in the past. But what I do like is his grassroots effort. I think the guy's he's putting his balls on the table. I respect the hell out of that. I think it's 10 times better than having Biden in the office, to be honest with you. And if I'm going to see a Democrat get elected, then I absolutely want to see RFK be that one. I think he's 10 times better than what we have now. Speaking of which, today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. And the reason I'm able to sleep doing all of these shows and just constantly having information overload running through my brain, managing this quickly growing podcast channel, the #1 channel where first responders go to be informed and entertained. I'm able to do all that because I can compartmentalize everything from my ghost bed. I lay down on the ghost bed, and it's like all these thoughts and everything, they just start going, and they go to different parts of my brain as my head drifts into that hard ghost bed pillow. I like the firm pillow, but my head still sinks into it because I have a fat head. And it just puts me right to sleep, and I have no problem sleeping at night. And right now, GhostBed is offering 40% off across the board. Promo code Wolfpack with all capital letters. Ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. And we even hooked one of our homies up in Canada this week, or last week, by hooking up with a new Canadian promo code, which is Wolfpack with a capital W, everything else lowercase, Wolfpack. So even in Canada, you guys can enjoy the same creature comforts as we do. Head over to GhostBed, get the cooling sheets, get the pillow, get the mattress, get the adjustable base. Right now, 0 down, 0% financing, and that's if you have let's see, we'll go through. That's if you have Hydro-Man Blue credit. So if you have Hydro-Man Blue credit, you can get 0% down, 0% financing. But to be fair, I met Hydro-Man Blue at one of our meetups. He looks like a dude that's probably in the mid 700s, so he probably does have really good credit, and Lumber Chef probably does too. We'll go with Mer 530 since that's androgynous, and I still don't know if it's a boy or girl. Mer 530 is probably sitting somewhere in the low 6s. 0% down, 0% financing. Hold me to it. Also, we have Factor Meals, factormeals.com, so that you can eat healthy as well. And they have the calorie-conscious meals. They have the protein-heavy meals, vegetarian meals. What you need is what they got. They come prepackaged, beautifully prepackaged. These are chef-prepared meals, always fresh, never frozen. They get delivered to your house in a beautiful box. The presentation as well. There's like some gift cards on top typically. They got the dry ice that kind of illuminates. You schedule when it's going to get delivered to your house. And you can get like 3 meals a week. You can get 5 meals a week. That way, when you're sitting in the squad room and all your peasant buddies are eating their, 75-cent burritos or their $2.35, Hot Pockets that are just chock full of all the shit that takes away testosterone, all the shit that's like giving you cancers and all the nasty stuff, all the things that are a problem with this world that, make your knees hurt and your backs hurt, a lot of nutrition things that are going on there. You can bypass all of that shit by going to factormeals.com. Factormeals.com. Don't just Google Factor Meals because it's going to take you to somebody else's promo code. Just go to factormeals.com and use the promo code Wolfpack50, and that's going to get you 50% off to taste the delicious goodness, to taste those shakes. They're amazing. Jonathan from Com Center says Hot Pockets take away testosterone. I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. I feel like everything, all the ingredients, my wife's constantly showing me. She's like, you see that ingredient right there? Takes away testosterone. You see that ingredient right there? It's going to cause body aches. You see that ingredient right there? Causes cancer. So like, I don't have time to memorize all of it. I know that fucking Hot Pockets aren't good for you, John. They're not good for you. A lot of sodium. I bet you there's a lot of sodium. I used to eat the 5 fingers of death when I was a cop. So I know these things, guys. I used to eat the 5 fingers of death, the little cans of Vienna sausage. I used to dip those in mustards for lunch. I'd gross everybody out. All the suspects would be smelling my fucking Vienna sausage breath. It's disgusting. Had I known about Factor Meals or had it existed when I was a cop, I would have been eating like a king 5 days a week because you're still spending the same money by going to your little Chick-fil-A's, by going to your little Popeyes and all the Mexican restaurant, all those things. So head over to factormeals.com. How close are we to World War III at this point, Josh?
If World War III was on the outside of the door of my apartment, I could look through the peephole and he's waving at me like this.
Yeah.
Like we are inching closer and closer. Not only that, something that where I don't have the stats to pull up to completely know this for sure, but they like fiscal budgets and things like big budgets, for the government, they plan things out years in advance. Like we're going to allot this because some act will be passed and some budget money will be allotted and we can buy this new tank, or we can use this money for research for this, or we can do this. They're budgeting all kinds of extra money for things in the next couple of years in defense terms. And the buildup of the money, where it's coming from, that looks similar to the way it was in 2002 and 2003, 2004, when we first started kicking off another war. So I don't have the numbers and everything specifically in front of me to know for sure, but like that's one of the things. And they say, you ask how close are we? Small grains of sand will make a desert. Like all of this adds up. Like we've sent troops. We sent 6,000 troops to Poland. We sent all these troops to Europe. We sent all of these arms over to Ukraine. All the billions of dollars we've sent to Ukraine. We've got the pilots in the Air Force that aren't getting their bonuses. We got the pilots in the Air Forces they're not allowed to get out of the Air Force and use their commission. They're flying them planes 20 of the 24 hours of the day. The only time they're on the wheels down is when they have to have inspections. You got 4 more ships that are getting sent out to off the Alaskan coast.
Yes, and breaking news, as they say. This has come from Lumber Chef. He is not hired on our thing as a fact checker, so if he's wrong, that's on him. That's not on the Feather Stop. What do they say? The opinions of Lumber Chef do not reflect the opinions of the Feather Stop
staff.
Well, Lumber Chef in the chat says, breaking news, Biden admin supposedly putting investment restrictions on China. As we speak, he says, real news, no bullshit. I think that's a hashtag that he's using there. Hashtag real news, no bullshit. So, we can look into that really quick. But right now, off the coast of Alaska, we've got a little bit of war games, sending some Navy ships over there. Does look like that's getting closer and closer. We've said how we think World War III will look like. And I've been listening to Tim Pool's podcast. Real quick about Tim Pool's podcast, really fast. Nope, we'll bypass that news. Go on. We'll just stay on what we got. But Tim Pool was talking about what he thinks a World War III would look like, and I kind of tend to agree with him. We are so energy dependent. We are so dependent on grocery stores. We're so dependent on so many things that really the government can kind of pick and choose what they want to do, whether it be another pandemic, whether it be they can just hold all your money. I was on only American News Network last night, and they had a New Zealand woman on there who was trying to go and get $3,500 out of her bank account. They wouldn't let her. They said, oh, you have to use a debit card for that. So she went to the debit card machine. The debit card machine says, sorry, we don't have that kind of money in this debit card machine. You have to go back inside. And they went inside, and she was like, oh, no, we don't keep that kind of cash in here. She's like, what do you mean you're a bank? Like, you're my bank. I've been banking here forever. And they're like, yeah, but we're going cashless. She's like, but I need $3,500 because I'm paying cash for a vehicle on Marketplace. And they're like, I don't know what to tell you. We don't have that here. So she had to go to another bank and pay bank fees to get her money out because of this cashless system. I've been talking about the cashless system thing for a long time, ever since I went to a baseball game a few months ago, and it was a cashless stadium. You know, what if you don't want to use? What if there's an electric storm? What if the baseball park gets hit by lightning? I mean, I a thousand things. Why are we not using cash? Why is that not allowed? This is ridiculous to me. That is legal currency. You work for it, you own it, you earn it. You should be able to spend it how you want. You should not be forced to get a bank in America. What if you don't like the banks and you don't trust the banks? That's your right. It is your right not to trust a bank. There's a lot of people I know that don't trust the banks. They keep all their money at home. They don't use debit cards or credit cards. Why won't the government allow that to happen? Why are we going cashless all of a sudden? No. Sorry that you don't trust banks, but if you don't trust banks, you can't come watch a baseball game here. Sorry, if you don't trust the banks, you can't buy groceries from us. This is a very scary world that we're living in. And I see this kind of happening where you've got cybersecurity attacks that they're talking about. Listen, they're coming out with all this alien stuff. There's so many distractions. Right now, there's talks that fucking Obama might be gay. That the dude from Canada might be gay. Now, I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe the aliens should either. I think it's all distractions. Now, a lot of you guys are going to argue with me about that. That's fine. Let's go for it. Do I really think Obama is gay? 20% chance he's gay. 20% chance. Right? Do I think the Canadian dude's gay? Trudeau? 80% chance. 80% chance he might be gay. But at the end of the day, I think this is all bullshit just to distract us. I think that they are trying so hard. I think they launched out with the alien stuff. Nobody gave a fuck. Everybody wants to see the Epstein list. They can feel the pressure from we the people. They feel the pressure. They see this social media stuff. The reason why they want to get rid of TikTok, I don't think it has much to do with the Chinese spyware. Chinese have been spying on us forever, and everybody knows that. Somebody had mentioned earlier that Dianne Feinstein's driver was a Chinese spy for like 20 years. I have no idea if that's true, but it could be. My point being is that I don't know that the government necessarily cares so much about Chinese spyware on TikTok. I think what they really care about on TikTok is how much anti-government shit is being put on TikTok and how much authority is being questioned on TikTok. I really do believe this in my whole heart of hearts, that they are trying to distract us because we are onto something, and we the people just got to keep the gas pedal down. We got to keep that pressure on. That's why I love having this channel so much. We got to be careful too, because we don't want to get shut down off of the YouTubes and things like that. But that's why it's important for you guys to join our Patreon accounts. We love our paid YouTube subscribers. We'd rather have you over on the paid Patreon because we know it's only a matter of time. Election season's in October. They are going to crash this channel. All this political news that we do here on Last Call, we're already preparing to take this over to Patreon because we don't want to lose our next show. The Conspiracy Show, by the way, here we go. Some breaking news again. Don't want to miss this. But we are starting a show, myself and Conservative Ant. Conservative Anthony, a lot of you guys are huge fans. This guy has well over 600,000 TikTok followers, 270,000 something Instagram followers. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say it or not, but a certain podcast, very famous podcast, reached out to him and is flying him to be on that show. And we are just going to be so excited by that. Jonathan is actually working on the promo for Jonathan Bates is working on the promo reel for myself and Conservative Ant. And then also Elijah, our other producer, has already created the YouTube intro. So, that's going to be a fantastic story. If you don't know Conservative Ant, go follow him on Instagram. He's absolutely huge. He's big. He's amazing. He's all on our channel. He's all in on this. And we're going to work great together. I already know that. We've already started practicing together. All his equipment is being mailed today as we speak. So this is all very big news, but I'll guarantee you there's no way Conservative Ant made it to 1 million followers on TikTok, and they scrubbed his account for no reason. They never gave him an excuse why, because he's a very pro-conservative, kind of a flamboyantly homosexual character. That's the character that he plays. And I never want to say that that's his person, right? You know what I mean? Like, we all play a personality on these things. So his stage personality, because I talked to him, he's a real deal, very just an awesome human being to converse with and to talk with. But his character, much like Lázaro Lopez, Lázaro Lopez isn't this always drunk, always fucking crazy, white trash tailgater. No, I love having dinner with him. I've stayed at his house a few times. He's a great guy. So, but Conservative Ant's character is an amazing character on Instagram, and it's so fun. But there's no way they're going to tolerate a conspiracy show with somebody as big as Conservative Ant on these YouTubes, because that's part of the plan, guys. Like, that's part of the restrictions. That's kind of what we are slaves to right now, is all these social medias. So we have to keep kind of not going all in on certain social media platforms. Like, you can't be all in on Instagram because that can go away in a heartbeat. Can't be all in on YouTube because that's going to go away on a heartbeat. And that's something that we're starting as a growing channel. Drew and I talk 2 hours a day just on strategy of not being shut down. So how can you help? Join us on Patreon, but be prepared to leave Patreon and go somewhere else. But we can't we can't abandon each other on these platforms, and we got to just stick together. Jonathan Compton says, I work hard for the network. We are a team. Yes, he does work very hard for the network. And we appreciate everything he does, appreciate everything Elijah does, Drew, Josh, the whole channel. And of course, we couldn't do it without all of you guys on our Patreon team. But it's getting real serious, guys. It's getting real serious. World War III is knocking at the door. I don't even know that World War III is not the major distraction here. I think come election season, there have been some very, very important people who have come out and said that they don't think that there is going to be a 2024 election. And I totally, wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't think they're going to allow this to get to election. And you're like, man, Eric, that's crazy. We'll see what happens. October's coming. Make this a real. October is coming, and that is when everything is going to start. And by January, February, it's going to be full retard. It's going to be the same way it was 2 years ago. Everybody's going to start getting canceled again. Everybody's going to be having their content removed from Instagrams and the TikToks and the Twitters, and it's all going to happen again. So just get ready for it. And stay together on this so that we can come out victoriously as a people, not Republican, not Democrat, but we deserve better than what the government as a whole is giving us right now. And speaking of which, that's what Wayne Brady is doing right now, in my opinion, is just trying to trick us. I think this is another more smoke and mirrors. What do you think? What is your take on the Wayne Brady? By the way, again, Wayne Brady is the dude who is on he's the entertainer that's on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Do you ever like Whose Line Is It Anyway?
It was hilarious when it was on. The concept of the show and how it made comedy so easy, because it was like kind of sketch comedy, but it was live and it was improv, and they had a really good team of comedians, and Wayne was really good. They had the music, the improvised music, and the other comedian, big fan of his. And then when he was on Dave Chappelle, is Wayne Brady going to have to choke a bitch? Like, he, at that point, like, he was so cut and clean and like this is like the model. This is what we're going to put out there. This is comedian. We can get behind him. He's got nothing. He doesn't say any foul language, nothing, anything like that. And then he came out on Chappelle. What I thought about that was, the first thing that came to my mind is, when's the last time have you heard of Wayne Brady doing anything?
That's exactly. I was actually on the phone with Conservative Ant when this news came out, and he was like, "Yo, did you see this shit about Wayne Brady?" And I said, "No." And you had sent me an article, or Jay Durrell sent me an article. One of you guys did, and I looked at the article, and the first thing I said to Anthony was, "Yo, this motherfucker ain't pansexual." I'll tell you how this conversation went right now. He says, "Yo, publicist, I need a couple of gigs. What do we got? I haven't had anything in like 2 years. I'm running low on money. What do we got out there?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm sorry, man. You're not that relevant right now. So, I mean, everything is like it's low hanging fruit, dude. It's like cherry picking, which is not going to be a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Dime a dozen type deal." And he's like, "Well, what do I got to do?" And they're like, "Come out gay." "Are you gay?" "No, I'm not. I'm not gay." "You sure?" "Yeah." I'm not gay. You think The Rock's handsome? I mean, kind of. So you're kind of gay. No, not really. How about pansexual? What's pansexual? Oh, you know, pansexual means that just like nobody knows what you're really into. You could be into whatever you want. It's like bisexual, except you're not admitting that there's only two, that it's binary. Pansexual means you could be into anything, dude, or nothing. He was like, oh, and that's cool. Oh yeah, it's all the rage right now, dude. If you could get into the LGBT community, it is all the fucking rage, bro. He's like, okay, what do we gotta do? Do I come out? Do I sign something? Like, what do I have to do? He's like, bro, we're just gonna write an article right now. I'm gonna hit New York Times up. I'm gonna hit New York Post up. I'm gonna tell them that you're coming out as pans, dude. Let's do a thing, bro. Get your fucking most ridiculous suit. Throw it on. Throw a hat on. Put a hat on too. That's really popular. Just come out pants, baby. Come out pansexual. We'll get you back in the headlines. We'll get you some more gigs. That's how I think this went down.
Because I went and I actually looked between June 2022 and June 2023. These are the articles that I was able to find just quickly Googling. There was 1, 2, 3 in October of 2022, and then it goes back to June of 2021. More importantly, not a whole lot. So right. That's like the first thing that I said was kind of the first thing that you said. First thing kind of a lot of people are saying like, okay, great. Just like anybody else, great. We don't care. Go do you. Are you going to be funny? Do you have something funny to talk about? If not, then you're just trying to get more attention. It's just a cry for an attention. That's all it is.
Yeah, I wish it would work for me. What if I came out pans right now?
You'd have to change the mullet.
Sure. You can't be pansexual with a mullet, dude. I look like a fucking Subaru driving lesbian. What are you talking about?
I can't see you going down on some truck driver with that mullet. I just, as much as you try to picture that in your head, I just can't see it.
Oh,
his fingers running through your hair, calling you Eric. We're going to drop this load. After I drop this load.
Oh, I'm going eastbound and down.
Oh, yeah. I don't, maybe, I mean, if that's what it takes, we all need to do something cool, but yeah, okay.
I'm not
move
pants.
on.
After that, I'm not pants. Like I'm not even straight right now. I'm impotent. After that,
you're in a corner.
I'm never gonna get hard ever again. Thank you, thank you for all of that. Jonathan Bates, do not make that a reel. If you know what I mean. No, I'm just kidding. Look at it. This guy's sexy fast. Oh my gosh, that might have been the worst segment that I've ever been a part of in podcasting in general. And I've been on some really fucked up shows, Josh, but that might be the most fucked up segment I've ever had on a podcast. So congratulations.
I feel, do we get a trophy? I have a second place trophy for shooting competition once. Do we get a trophy for this?
No. You basically almost fired. Except you're not fired until I find you a replacement that can do all the things that you do. So just stick around for a few years.
A few more days.
Oh.
Can we
Cupcakes Cameo says I look like a huge Theo Von fan. You know what? I can get down on some Theo Von. I think he's very funny. I do think he's very funny.
I'm a big Theo fan.
I think Theo and I think I would love to go on one of Theo's shows. I think that would be a lot of fun. Zach Galifianakis is another comedian that I just absolutely love. Just watched a movie last night, speaking of which. If you want to have a family night, the Beanie Baby movie with Zach Galifianakis, absolutely excellent and terrifying at the same time. It's weird about when you watch these movies like this. How bad was he? Was he really that bad? Because if he was, I mean, what a dick.
I remember the Beanie Baby craze. I remember as a kid sitting in line at McDonald's. Like I remember all that back then. I remember as a kid.
I remember on 95 when the semi truck tipped over and all the Beanie Babies, everybody was going nuts. I mean, I remember all of that.
Divorces, and they had the Beanie Babies out on the table in court, and you get this one, and you get this one, and you get this. Like,
but Zach Galifianakis plays Ty in the film, in the Beanie Babies film, and it's really, really great. I think I think Zach Galifianakis is a great actor. Cupcakes and Cameos, to get to your point about Theo Von is great. He is, but I don't see him in any movies. He's not acting. Zach Galifianakis is in a bunch of movies, and his stand-up is incredible. You know what I'm talking about? Like Dane Reynolds. Was it Dane Cook? Dane Reynolds?
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook. When he in a bunch of movies, wasn't he in like Waiting and shit?
Yeah, he was in that with Jessica Simpson. He was in a bunch of stuff back then.
Yeah.
Then
I'd like to see Theo Von branch out into some movies. And before
yeah,
I
that'd
can
be
say
fun.
he's like one of the greatest, you know? Like even Ron White was in some movies. So
yeah.
Will Cray says he has a few Beanie Babies. By the way, folks out there, Will Cray at Will Cray, WILLKREW, still single. Probably because he still has a few Beanie Babies. But if you're into Beanie Babies, you want to trade some Beanie Baby pics, some BBPs. If you want to trade some BBPs with Will Cray, head over to @WillCray on his Instagram. Slide into those DMs. Share some BBP pics, some Beanie Baby pics with this guy. It blows my mind that we can't find him love. We're about to move on. We're about to give up on Will Cray and finding love for him, and we'll move over to Lumber Chef. Because at least I feel like Lumber Chef has something more to offer other than Beanie Babies. So Diesel Tech Bosco says, hi, y'all. Sorry I'm late. Anyway, I just like to address the chats as much as we can, just because it's part of the show and it keeps things fun and lively. We got more money. We've got more problems. Next up on the docket, the House GOP released bank records on Hunter Biden's payments from Russia. The oligarchs' total clearings are $20 million.
On top of the other 10 million that they had from the Chinese people from a couple weeks ago.
Really? That's on top of?
Yeah, this is Russia. This is from Russia.
Oh, yeah, you're right. This is from Russia. You're talking about China. Yeah, I mean, this is tens of millions of dollars at this point. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer released a third memo Wednesday about the Biden family's foreign business dealings, producing bank records purporting to show that Hunter Biden and his business associates, the big man, received millions in payments from Russia and Kazakhstan oligarchs when his father was vice president. It's a 19-page memo. Listen, all this is dropping. This dropped as of this morning. And so I have a Tanstradamus prediction. This came out August 9th at 9 a.m. So that's this morning, right? That's this morning's news. So if you're watching this, you're listening to this later on down the road. This happened on August 9th. Tanstradamus prediction, August 11th. We've got another indictment for Trump coming.
It's like clockwork. I'm trying to find the where I saved it, because we had it last week. We talked about it, that it was almost like to the day, and then within 24 to 48 hours, there was a news something against Trump in the news.
Yeah, every time something like this comes out, almost immediately we get another Trump indictment, to the point now where it's like rhythmic. Do you have that? Can you pull that up?
I can't. I'm trying to find it I got a bunch of pictures from all the shows.
Chris Dreyer says, is MSNBC reporting on this? We pulled this from Fox News. So I'm not sure, Chris, if that's from MSNBC. I can get Josh. Josh, go ahead and check that. See if that's on MSNBC. This is just from Fox News, though. It says then Vice President Biden met in person for significant periods of time with individuals or representatives. This memo states that Vice President Biden joined approximately 20 phone calls on speakerphone with Hunter Biden's foreign business associates and attended dinners with foreign oligarchs who paid huge sums of money to Hunter Biden. Joe Biden, the brand, was the only product the Bidens sold. Bum, bum, bum. The third bank records memorandum. You know, I followed a lot of this on the Tim Pool podcast just because he goes so hard. Listen, I don't claim to be, I've said this 1,000 times, I don't claim to be a journalist, guys. I'm only giving first responders something else to talk about other than dead babies and domestic violence. So that when you're at the weekend barbecue and these people are talking about things, you're not just totally lost in the sauce. You've got something, you've got some ammo to talk about. You don't have to bring everything back to that one time at police camp. So, you know, if you really want like good political breakdowns, there are great podcasts like the Breaking Points podcast with Crystal and Sagar. Really great podcast for political news. They're both Democrats, but their news is very neutral. If you want to go full Republican news, Tim Pool and the Timcast, really great source of information there. If you really are politically heavy, we are just giving you kind of just enough to get you in trouble. And then you take what you think is interesting and you go and do more research while you're boarding your cop car. Just giving you something else that mainstream media isn't giving you. Were you able to find that, Josh?
No, I've got here. I'll stop this one. I'll present to show how much stuff I have on my computer from this show. I have thousands of things on the that I've downloaded. So it's in here.
Look at all that.
It's somewhere in here.
Yeah, I guess for like a show a couple of weeks ago, we literally made a graph of all the dates and times that they came out. And I don't know if we used it on the show or not. I don't think we ever got to it, but that's a shame.
But
maybe we'll bring this up on the last call. We'll find it. Josh will find it.
Yep.
And we'll put it
I'll
on
make sure we put it up.
The last call _12. Last call _12. That is the last call's official Instagram page. We will put that graph, that barring graph up there. Please go and follow Last Call. And again, that goes in part of like kind of diversifying our portfolio, if you will. That way, if Failure to Stop Rapper gets shut down, we still have Last Call. We still have Failure to Stop Uncuffed, which is its own channel. It's approaching a couple thousand followers on there. So we're still just below 10,000 on the Instagrams. Also, our Facebook is in the tens of thousands at this point. So if you want to follow us over on Facebook, we're trying to get better at Facebook. But Meta is kind of screwing us over pretty hard right now. Anything else you got in the news there, Josh? Before we get out of here?
No, that's the stuff that I've been watching. There's Elon Musk said that they're going to the fight with him and Zuckerberg. That's supposedly. Ooh. I don't know how serious that is, but they keep talking about it. And if it happens, on Musk's sides of things, he said that all the proceeds will go to charities for veterans, and they're going to stream it live on X, formerly known as Twitter. Okay. So do we call X, formerly known as Twitter, like we did Prince back in the day?
Yeah, sure. I feel like why is everybody so upset with the X thing, by the way?
Well,
why did he go away from the bird? He should have just kept it.
Because he wants to my theory is he's come in, he's released all these documents, the Twitter files, exposing everything that what everybody is saying, that our First Amendment rights have been taken away, that the FBI is colluding with the government or colluding with Twitter and Facebook. Like he's done all this. Anybody that wants to stay on the platform, he's given it a fair chance. Everybody has the same fair shake at it. For the most part, there's things that they're still going to try to get, that they're not going to get right. Everybody's going to get things wrong. We're going to get things wrong. But as he's doing this, you want to rebrand things. So as a brand, so let's say if we had a really big fight and I have to leave, and it's this crazy
we already
thing.
did. We kind of did do a rebranding when Mike retired.
By
the way,
we stayed Failure to Stop. We didn't rebrand as we launched as 2.0, but we stay under this nameplate. Whereas now it's the same thing, but it's a new nameplate. It's a new brand. So when you see it, when new eyes are looking at it, I'm not associating it with the previous regime. This is a new regime. We're changing the flags, the new guy's in charge. So I can see it, and then I can see everybody getting pissed off about it because they're not in charge anymore. They don't have the ability to censor and control. He can. It's his platform. He can do what he wants with it.
I've still never tweeted. I need a tweeter. I think Drew Breezy runs our tweeter, if I'm not mistaken, if we even have one. One more article really quick. This is from CNN. The teenage cousin of the gunman responsible for the 2022 Uvalde, Texas school shooting was arrested Monday on suspicion of threatening to do the same thing to a school, according to court documents obtained by CNN. Nathan James Cruz, 17, was arrested on a felony charge of making a terroristic threat to a public place and misdemeanor charge of making terroristic threats against a family member, according to Bexar County Central Magistrate records. Let's see. Sorry. CNN has sought comment from San Antonio Police. Ramos stormed into Robb Elementary last year armed with an assault. We all know what happened there. Cruz's mother contacted police on Monday after her daughter reported that Cruz, this is the cousin of Ramos, said that he planned to do the same exact thing as his cousin, and he was drunk and intoxicated at the time, and he was on probation at the time, and they lived right across the street from an elementary school at the time. I don't understand why this family's still in the United States. Let's just fucking send them to, I don't know, fucking Myanmar or something.
Canada.
Let's just get them the fuck out of here. I feel like I think you should be able to lose your citizenship. If you have a family member that's like so despicable, the whole family's got to suffer for it. That's what you get for having a shitty bloodline. So fuck them all. And this is why I do say in bloodlines, because here we go. The apples don't fall from the tree. This is even spawning into a cousin. Even the cousin is suffering from this fucking wackadoodle disease that these folks suffer from. Following his arrest, Cruz denied making any of these threats. When interviewed by a detective, the document said, so they're going to let him back out. CNN has been able to confirm whether Cruz has an attorney. His charges carry a combined $160,000 bond, according to the magistrate records. Now, motherfucker, you get no bond until we figure this shit out. And I know that's harsh, but you killed 22 fucking kids. Your family did. Fuck you. Fuck you and fuck your family. And y'all can go fucking be happy somewhere else. Go to a war-torn country and be fucking animals. You want to act like animals? Go to some other country where the animals fucking roam free. What is it? Somalia. Go to Somalia. Go over there and be a fucking warlord or some piece of shit over there. We don't need you here in the United States. Does that mean?
No. I mean,
fair, right?
if let's say we're going to say that America is, I'm a big with analogy or picture things. So let's say America is a ship. If you're on the ship and you're actively poking holes in the ship, why the hell do we want to let you on our ship? You're going to get on another boat.
Yeah.
And then they're going to deal with your shit. Eventually someone's going to say, hey, stop poking holes in the ship. This is ours. This is our country. Like, we've got to protect it. We got to take care of each other. It's a big community. That's what this podcast has taught me, one thing, if nothing else, that this is a massive community. We have a massive community behind us. So if you're in this community and you're this is happening in your community, call this. You got to call this stuff out. You got to, hey, this is going on. And good on the family member, the sister that turned into the mom. Like, that, good on him for that. I mean, kudos.
Yeah, why you got a kid on probation? I mean, put the picture of that guy back up there. Does he even look? How old is this guy? He doesn't look 21.
17.
17. Why is he drunk? Why is he drunk? Mom, dad. Why is he drunk in front of your daughter, his sister, mom, dad? I mean, I'm not going to say my kids aren't going to get drunk, but they're not going to have the balls to get drunk in front of their little sister or their little brother, because they know dad's not going to tolerate that shit. Dad's going to beat that ass. He catches you getting drunk like that. So, I mean, again, parental illness, that whole family, ship them out. Let's get them out of here. Put them on a boat, send them to the Somalia coast, and let them poke holes in the proverbial boat in front of all those Somalian pirates and see how that works out. Cupcake says he looks 27. Jesus. Golly, you better card to everybody before you hook up with them, Cupcakes, because you're going to get yourself into trouble, girl. Like, I thought he was 27. He was 17. Oh, Vulcanator is confused, too, that he was 17. Jeez. Oh, my gosh. Well, listen, the new show is coming out. What's that?
I was going to say, how many 17-year-olds when you were growing up had facial hair?
The football team, a lot. I mean, we had dudes with beards on our football team.
Like full on, like man beards. I don't remember that. I remember like they'd have like the attempt to have a mustache or attempt to have a goatee, or there was an attempt to have had longer sideburns, but I don't remember anybody that had like a full on like.
This is the late 90s when I played football, late 90s in Florida. And like my team's mascot was the Bears, but it might as well have been the rebel flag, because every truck had the black guys on the team, the white guys, everybody flew like rebel flags out the back of their trucks, and they all wore Dixie Outfitter rebel flag t-shirts. Like, that was like their call of the South. Like, we were a very Southern. Our captain was a black dude named Gene Shaw. If you go in Facebook, Gene Shaw right now, it's like him sitting in a tree stand with with like some deerskin. It was like very funny times that I lived in, but yeah, well, one of these rednecks had a full-blown fucking mullet and a huge beard. I can't think of his name. I think his name was Justin. He was tall as shit. He was a big dude, just a massive guy, and he had a fantastic beard and a fantastic mullet. But yeah, John from Compton says Dixie League. Florida's a different place, man. A lot of people think Florida is Tampa or Daytona or Jacksonville, but you get into like Ocala, you get into some of these more central Florida places, man, and it's very, very swamp, man. Kind of like hills have eyes, like the Kentucky Appalachian people shit. Florida has a lot of that in central parts of Florida. So coming up on the channel in the next 2 weeks, guys, we do have Conservative Ant. I encourage all of you right now to go to Instagram, go to Conservative Ant, Conservative ANT, Anthony Raimondi, and follow him and leave a comment or a message about how excited you are that he is coming over to Failure to Stop. I want him to feel more welcome than anybody's ever felt welcome in the history of the world. Go and follow him and give him some love. And we're so excited to be bringing him on the channel. Everybody's working really hard. If you're not following Com Center Boys, they have not started their own Com Center Instagram yet. I'm sure they will, but you can find him, Jonathan, at Jonathan, put in the thing what your Instagram is. I don't even know what it is. Difficult to look at pictures. Difficult to look at pictures. Difficult to find on Instagram is what it should be called. Then you've got Drew Breezy on Instagram. You go follow everybody, guys. Go follow everybody. And go follow our sponsors. The way we keep the show on the road is, again, all the Patreons, all the super chats. When you guys leave super chats, that all helps. But by the way, all the super chats that came in from July literally paid for all of Anthony's new equipment, cameras, tripods, lights. And of course, Anthony, he's a diva. So he wanted everything nice and perfect. So we send him the best of the best at Drew Breezy, is where you can find Andrew Baxter is at Drew Breezy. This coming Friday, biggest news of the week. Here it is. We got Sheriff Joe Arpaio coming on Friday. This is the toughest sheriff in the world. For those of you who don't know, this dude's been in the media since I was like the last 20, 30 years. I have been a Sheriff Joe Arpaio fan. This guy was the one that he came out with the pink. We made the convicts wear all pink. Absolutely hilarious shit. He's been in trouble from everybody. He's hard on crime, tough on sentencing, and literally he's known as America's toughest law enforcer. 91 years old. The dude is a stud, running for mayor. I got a lot of questions about that because, 91, what separates? Why do we want a 91-year-old mayor? I'm going to ask him those questions. I'm going to go hard on him, but I respect the absolute shit out of him as a law enforcement guy. So I think you guys are all going to be very excited to see this Friday's episode. So very, very, very exciting. Drew Breezy says that Sheriff Joe was Trump before Trump was cool. You're right. Sheriff Joe Arpaio was one of the very first people that ever just did not give a fuck in front of the media. Said exactly what he was thinking, when he was thinking it, and was putting his foot down. Again, hard on crime, tough on sentencing, tough on crime, hard on sentencing, however that goes. So you are not going to want to miss this. And plus, this guy's got thicker skin than a Florida crocodile. And so I'm going to ask him some fucking hard questions, man. I feel like our fans deserve that. And I've always tried to be fair, even when we've had these crazy PIs and things on. It's going to be no different. I'm going to ask him all the hard questions. And I told him, I said, dude, I'm not throwing softballs. Like, if you want to come on our channel, just be warned. I'm going to ask you all the tough questions. You said you're running for mayor. You're 91 years old. I've got questions about your age. Do you act 91? How are you going to guarantee me? How are you going to guarantee us that you're not going to be another rambling Joe Biden? That's scary. We'll see what he has to say about all that. But I also, before we get into those tough questions, I have to respect his past and where he came from, because just a dominant figure in law enforcement for so many years. And he's contributed so much to cleaning up crime in the United States. And we cannot forget that. We cannot forget the service that he's rendered to this country. So we're going to get into all of that on Friday. Until then, guys, from myself and Deadleg Media, old Joshua, we will see you guys soon. Guns up, giddy up, Com Center tomorrow night. Com Center, it is going to be an absolute banger. Don't forget to tune in to Com Center tomorrow night, baby. And then Friday, the breakdown. Until next time, guys, guns up.